you should have my corner of the cloud on your screen.
Yeah.
And I am going to go through the new corner and how it operates, and then I'm going to go into CAITS and show you how it operates. The system that we've got, basically the difference is in the navigation tools. We've taken Bootstrap, which is an open source navigation system that is pretty smart. It goes out and says, what type of device do you have? Is this a cell phone that you've tuned into? Is this a touch screen? Is this a tablet or an iPad? Or is it a computer browser? And how big is the screen? What's the resolution and everything? So it can create a navigation tool and order things on the page completely differently depending upon the device. And one reason we did this is because, you know, it's more and more common for people to be using a multitude of devices to access the cloud. And also, if you're not using one of the major sources that do that, like Bootstrap, which is one of the more popular ones, then you go way to the bottom of the list in Google searches, because Google now has an algorithm that says, you know, are you a variable navigation system, and you go way up higher in the list of searches and stuff. So we did that for user experience and for, you know, keeping us up in the Google world. What we did, however, is we took the source code and we married it with our digital rights exchange, so that, and you'll see this, if you don't have access to any libraries, and you'll see it more in CAITS than you will here in this corner, then you don't even have the menu choice for libraries doesn't even show up. And if you don't have access to a particular feature, like the sales manager, maybe you're working in the warehouse and you don't have access to the sales manager, it doesn't even show up in the navigation system. So it doesn't clutter up the screen, it doesn't confuse anyone. So they get to see what just exactly they're supposed to see for doing their job. It's different here in the corner, that because everybody has access to pretty much everything that the corner provides. So for instance, there's the profile, and there's your personal information, there's your security information, the picture that you use to display, how you would like your notifications, and all that kind of stuff. So you have that. You also have your account credits, and you can purchase more credits. It tells you how much storage you're using. You have a certain amount of storage. You have unlimited libraries, but they can't total up to more than 5 gigs, or you have to buy more storage. And that's a recurring fee. But you can purchase credits. You can see your billing history, so on and so forth. The rights exchange, you still have your digital footprint. So you can upload files to it. You can manage the files that are in it. You can issue grants from those files to others. You have items that are registered in the digital rights exchange. You have grants that came from me to other people, so I can manage. I've given, like I gave Stephen an access to one of my libraries, and I can manage those grants from here, and I can see the grants that were given to me by others, and you can see that I have a variety of applications that I have access to, and some different images and things like that. So it's quite a bit easier to use now, and the connections are here. I can go and look at my connections, and you could see a variety of people that I have. Of course, that would be Stephen. And, you can see the messaging is still in here. This is still the encrypted messaging, and these are message threads. I'm still going to work on this a bit, but they work, pretty nicely. Also, I have the ability to add an actual CRM into the corner, so I can keep track of whoever I want to, whatever types of people I want. That's something I'm doing this so that I can experiment with it, see how it works, I would like to, if somebody's not using CAITS or whatever, I would like them to be able to pay a particular amount per month and have a more sophisticated CRM as opposed to just, a connection management system. But there are a lot of cool things that you can do. If I click over here on the star, you'll see that whoever's star that I'm clicking on will turn blue. That indicates that that particular connection of mine has been selected. So that if I'm going to be somewhere else in the corner of the cloud and I want to provide a grant, for instance, or send a message or whatever, that particular connection of mine is the number one thing that will show up automatically, and that information, because it's been pre-selected onto the clipboard. So that's new. In terms of, and you'll see that I use that a lot in CAITS too. That's really, it's really quite a feature, and it really comes in handy, and it saves a lot of time and all kinds of other stuff. So these are
Michael.
Yes.
Can you choose more than one person in that, or is it just the one at a time?
That feature is one at a time.
Okay.
But you can choose groups, and you can group people, and yeah. So you can choose contact types and things like that as well. So okay. I can create a group of all my employees, and then just select that group, and okay. Then I could send them all a message or whatever I want to do. So now you can see I've got access to quite a bunch of libraries because it's me and I have access, but we allow unlimited libraries. It's kind of like, that's a good way to keep track of things. That's way Stephen's doing with CAITS and the legal side of things, and that's the way in CAITS for, if somebody's in the cannabis business, you might have all your lab results in one library, and you might have your security photos in another library, and you might, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a cute way of, just keeping track of everything. So you can go back and forth really easy between the various libraries really quickly and easily. When you do connect to something, you can see that you can update the title. These are new APIs that I've created. You could update the names and the about information, the metadata. You can change the bin. I could say that this is an image and update that. I can move it to any one of my other libraries. I have two libraries right now. That is my music and my main library. So I can move this if I wanted to between my libraries very easily and simply. I can launch the files, delete it. Notice I can now loan the file because this item is not registered on the DRE. Now, it just so happens that I can register it because that's my screenshot and I took it and I own it and all that. But in cases like in my music, if I'm in the music library and I open up this Boss Skaggs song, I can't register that on the rights exchange because I don't own it. I am not the copyright manager or owner. But one thing I can do is I can loan that file. And so if I want to loan that file out, I'll click here, and it says notice the Grand Council of the Galactic Confederation. That is one of my contacts in there, and that's the one that I had clicked and made the star go blue. So right away, it's saying, do you want to lend this out? So I could, and if I did that, then it would gray out here, and I wouldn't be able to listen to it myself until it came back to me. And that's why I can determine the amount of time that I'm loaning it out for, a couple of days, a week, whatever I want. So if I've loaned out something, so this is a legal loaning system between people in, corners of the cloud. So it's not illegal to loan somebody music that you purchased. It's just that if you loan somebody a CD, you don't get to play it because you've loaned it to somebody. And then when you get it back, then you get to play it, and it disappears out of their library. And it will appear as a loaned item in their library. So that's all new.
Michael.
And
Michael, if you loan something to someone like that music, if you say you loan it out to them for a week, and
yep.
Two things, I guess. You go in there and you can see whether or not they've actually listened to it, and you can check that, right?
We have the capability, yes. However,
so let's say
I don't do that right now.
Well, let's say you loaned it out to them for a week, and whether or not they've used it, let's say you changed your mind 2 days later and you want to bring it back immediately. Can you just go out there and air grab it?
Yeah, again, I could do that. But I don't have, I haven't written that code yet.
Well, no, forget about the code. Let's just say you rented it out for a week and 2 days later you changed your mind and you want it back.
Yes, I could put that feature in, yes. It's not in there right now.
Okay, so that's two features you'd have to put in, that feature and the feature to see if they've even looked at it or used it.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that would be helpful at some point.
Especially on the legal side.
Pardon?
Especially on the legal side.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I may do that in the CAITS library, because that's who's going to be doing it from a more legal perspective. And they look the same and they function the same, and I'm doing that on purpose, but they're actually separate versions of the libraries. Same with calendars. I can go pull up a calendar. Today's the 9th. I can set my meetings and to-do and events in the calendars and things like that. So I can have as many calendars as I want. Then over here, you'll see that I can go and check my messages. I can get help. If I have any access at all to any CAITS accounts at all, I can. It will show up in this this menu. And again, all these menus are built dynamically, so it did know that I have access to CAITS. So I'm going to hop over there, and there's CAITS. Notice so far I've never opened up another tab or another window or anything. I can go back and forth all day long I'm going to go back to my account. There I am. I can go back to CAITS. So how this is used and how it works is becoming much more intuitive. And again, what I'm doing here is I'm creating this according to the Digital Rights Exchange. So I've got a CRM access. So the CRM is here. I've got the Deep Track Library access, so that appears here. But if I had given somebody just access to MakeTrack because they work in a warehouse and didn't give them a report manager or a sales manager, or maybe I don't give them access to the CRM, then those don't even appear on their screens, and their screens don't get as cluttered, and it is, again, much more intuitive. So basically it's looking out and says, well, how many CAITS accounts? Most people are only going to have access to one, but not me. I've got, I've got a bunch for testing purposes. So I jumped into the CAITS account for Wines R Us. And if I go back and look at the workflow, you'll see that it's receiving, grape pressing, fermentation, barrel aging. I can look at the definitions of products that I'm looking at, locations like processes of fermentation tanks, and items in raw material could be barrels or Chardonnay grapes or white grape juice or whatever, and I can define all of that for the business. If I go back to this farm over here and look at its workflow, you'll see that's completely different, and it fits the business. Eventually we'll have templates, but right now it's so darn easy to create the initial version of your business, and you want to tailor it to be whatever it is. So these are all the different locations that I've created, storerooms and whatnot, items and raw materials. Actually, Stephen did most of this. So you'll see some of the funny names that he's created. You can define all your products. You can completely edit how it's priced, packaged, sold, whether it's wholesale, retail, or both, whether it's sold individually or in bulk, et cetera, et cetera. You can, really, hone in on the definitions of your business this way. That's the basic setup tools that you have when you're in your business. Now, MakeTrack is actually tracking. I can look at open manifests that are tracking items. I have 100 items in a location. So, or maybe more than one location, I don't know, but I can just click on it and find out that these are all manifests because I'm tracking these seeds individually, 54, 55, 56, 57. These are all individuals that I'm tracking, and at any time that I want, I can go in and print labels and do things and all that kind of stuff. So receiving has become real easy. I can take anything that I've got, items, you'll see all the items that I've defined. If I say products, I'm receiving products, you'll see all the products that I've defined. If I'm receiving an asset, I can receive the asset. And if I want to receive a contact, I have somebody from, let's say I have a customer I want to receive into a process, which is the initial application process for whatever. Then I can receive that customer into that application, into that process, and follow him through the processing, the various processes that are in my business. So it's really easy to take anything. I can receive I can receive some oil into a location, and I'm going to put it into storeroom B. Next. And now I can define it. I can put in the quantity received. It's 12. These are milliliters because it'll tell me that I'm tracking these as milliliters in bulk. So I've received 12 milliliters. I can put a purchase order number. I can put in how it was shipped. It came in FedEx. Here's the shipping ID. All this stuff allows me to receive it and track it. So I've done it. It has created a single label. I can create labels anytime I want. Let's see, it was down on the template. There it is, and it just shows an example, but I can do that. Labels are one of the things, because you print them out, and you may need to do that more than once. Labels will open up in a separate tab, and some of the reports will open up in a separate tab. So there are a couple of instances where we do open up more than one tab. When removing items, it really is just as easy to do that. So I'm looking at all the items that I've got, for instance, and those are all those seeds that I'm tracking individually. So they have individual numbers and individual labels. And I want to move this one over to the germination table. So there we go. It's going to tell me it's going to move. There's an identifier that I've selected to move, and I can authorize that move. Processing is interesting because I don't have anything in a process at the moment. But if I did, I would be able to perform I'd be able to look into the process. I'd be able to print the ingredients. I'd be able to print the recipe if that's what it is. I'd be able to move some or all of the items out of the process. If it's a person going through a process like an application form that they're doing, I can move them from the initial application fill out into the next stage of the process, which would be maybe gathering up their proof of employment and income and whatever else, depending upon what type of business it is. So processing, I'll find something that's in process and I'll show you that. I don't know what I've got going on, but if there's any, no, I don't have anything that's in a process at the moment. And the reason I don't, by the way, is because every day I completely wipe out the database and I start all over again, and I move things around, and I don't even have any items to move in this one because I truly do wipe out the database completely. And I do that so that I'll go in and I'll print out the manifests, I'll print out the labels, I'll print out and move everything, and I will keep notes in a notebook and make sure that there are no bugs in the system, that everything that I ask to be moved is moved. If it goes from, for example, something that I'm tracking as an item with a batch number, and I put it in stock as a product, then if I make sure that it asks me, do you want to print new labels, because now this is a lot that you're tracking instead of a batch, and so on and so forth. So I'm doing a lot of testing every single day on this just to make sure that it's pretty much top notch. So that's the basics of this. There's also tracking of tasks. There's also open purchase orders. I can take the purchase order, I can ship it and close that, but I can't ship it. It won't let me because this product is not in inventory because I wiped out the database this morning. So perhaps next time I'll fill it in with some information and items and processes that are working, and we can record that as well and cut that in terms of making some sort of a cohesive video of all this. In terms of reporting, I'll just ask myself what kind of inventory I've got here, and I don't have much. You can see the 100 seeds that are in the seed vault that are being tracked individually, and you'll see the oil that I moved into the wholesale storage, and that's all I've got so far in inventory. So I can do, I think I have made some wine over here though. So let's go to a life cycle track report. Let's do a search for a lot number and see if there's let's do a, yeah. So what this is a life cycle report, and it says that I received 100 pounds of grapes into the receiving storeroom. That's the start of chain of custody. Here's who edited it. That's my account number. And those were moved into the grape bins over here. They kept the same identifier all the way up through these color-coded lines, where then those 100 pounds of Chardonnay grapes in bulk went into the grape press. The result of that is that it created 50 gallons of grape juice. I don't know if it really did, but and that went into the fermentation tank number 1 as an authorized move, and then that went into the barrel cellar as a lot number 77-12, which means it is now tracking a product which is fermented Chardonnay. It's no longer grape juice. And from here, it's about to move into the bottling room, where it's going to be put into cases of glass bottles, and then it will either be shipped or it'll be moved to a variety of locations. But you can see where throughout my business I can follow through the life cycle of a product. And if two companies are actually using this and going back and forth to generate sales or generate purchase orders or issue purchase requests and things like that to other companies using CAITS, then I can track this from the grapes all the way to the store where they're being sold. And I can see how it was shipped each time and when it was shipped and what the manifest numbers of for the shipping companies were. And so this life cycle track report over multiple businesses becomes pretty neat. It becomes what California wants in terms of tracing the product all the way from start to finish, including if it went to a producer that was doing an extraction, and then it went into, say, a baked good or candy or anything else. As long as all these companies are in the loop, like is what's going on in Mendocino County, and we can track it, and we can provide a very cool, explicit life cycle track of a product, even if the original plant had an extraction done and that went into multiple other products, we could still follow them all. And that's something that nobody else can do. There are no other track and trace programs that can do all that. I'm going to jump to the CRM first before I go back to the sales manager. I'm going to go back to a different. I've got more stuff in this CRM. Yeah, so I can go in and I can pull up Mr. Fontel, and I can say, okay, I want to copy this contact to the clipboard just for the hell of it. I can add groups, notes, and associations. There are no associations here, but let me go back to view contacts. I think I have an association. Yeah. So anything that's associated with this contact, and it could be images. It could be something that's in the library. It could be something that's located. It could be a report that's associated with a laboratory result or something like that. That's associated with a process. So the associations are pretty neat and can be pretty elaborate, and that is what Stephen's going to be using with the high-speed train project. But right now I can just click on this. I'm right there. I can launch the file, and I can see there's my clouds. There's an image that I took of the clouds and registered. If I took the image, so I could register the thing on the Digital Rights Exchange, and I could say this is a singular static image. It's a picture. There's my copyright string. I could UCC. I could proceed, and so you can see how elaborate this is all getting. But back to the CRM, excuse me, it's just really convenient to be able to go in and be able to make these associations. And then if I'm in like the sales manager and I want to do an outgoing purchase order, okay? Remember, I clicked on Stephen, so the selected contact is Stephen, and I'm going to do a new standard purchase order. And if I had information about his address, I didn't put it in there on purpose because I'm doing demos and I don't want people to actually see his address. I could make one up, I suppose, 1 Main Street or something. But if I said, whatever I say, and I said, oh, well, ship to address is the same as billing, it automatically will pull that stuff down instantly. Or I could have it do something else. I could change it. So I can give special instructions. I can select a specific preferred method of shipping, and then I can go in and I can select the products to add to the purchase order. Yeah, I know. So anyway, there we go. Yeah.
Did you hear Kevin and Dan talking about their chamber and tracking health, or I guess recovery through their chambers?
No, I didn't hear that.
And then also tracking the progress of an athlete.
That would be very interesting.
Right.
I know that out in Golden, where they are building the chambers, I know that they have asked me, once they get up and actually running some scientific tests on it, to come out and use CAITS to track the results. So I know that we've discussed it with Doc Jackson already. So this may be an offshoot. And I know that when we're doing a variety of tests down in Arizona with Art, that's what we're going to be doing with Craig, who is one of the scientists who just got a $10 million contract last week. So there's no products in inventory, so I can't sell anything right now. But if there were, it's just a cash register. It's a way to do this, and I think that I'm probably going to work out more of a touchpad scanner scale sort of a remote version of this, so that we can just have it automatically be part of CAITS, so that every sale is automatically recorded, and that will go a long way towards inventory management as well. And finally, of course, we have our deep track library. It looks the same. It acts the same. In it, anytime you do a report, you can have that report show up and be stored. Now, since I stored these earlier, every time I wipe out the database to do another test, I make sure that I store the earlier reports so I have them. So yeah, it's a great way to go in and to really keep track of everything basically. And I've just put a bunch of garbage in here a lot because I do that just to test, just basically to test what I'm doing. These are orchids that I grew myself. So anyway, so you can have as many, again, you can have as many libraries. I only have one for this particular account, but you can have as many as you want. You can have as many calendars as you want. These are inspection days. This is my main calendar. I don't have any information in there because I have been destroying the database on purpose. And same over here. You could go, there's a help screen. There's a user manual that I'm working on right now that you'll be able to download as a PDF file. There's frequently asked questions over here. There's some quick tips on the business if you have to call in to somebody or you have to contact customer support or something. You can get your business ID numbers and your Xeden account numbers and all kinds of stuff right here. This is live, support at caits.us. I monitor it every day. So it's a way to basically manage a system, and then I can go right back to my account, and I can go back and forth all day long, and it becomes intuitive. It becomes easy to use. It doesn't open up in 30 different windows like it used to, which was very confusing to even to me sometimes. And it just now makes a lot more sense and is a lot more intuitive. So I'm serving this off of a local server here in the house, and I am about to upload all of this code to the beta center. And when it'll be in the beta world up there, and then JT is working on the production server, which I think he's just about done with, and then we'll have www.xeden.co will be the production server, and then beta.xeden.co currently is the beta server. So we can mess around. We'll give real accounts to people in the production server, and then we'll give ourselves all a bunch of test accounts in the beta server so that we can play all day long and it isn't going to bother anybody. So yeah, that's the basics. It's all new. I like the bootstrap. I like the way it looks. I like the way it behaves. I definitely like the fact that it just, it's easy to navigate. You know what you're doing. It's easy to, here's that summary. Here's uploading files works really well. Managing the files works really well. There's my know your customer data. There's, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I've been testing around in here. So, yeah, it's the new corner account, and it's the new CAITS. So that's the overview. And as soon as we get I get this code uploaded to the beta server, I will give everyone as many accounts up there as they want to play with.
Cool.
And that's definitely going to be this week sometime.
So you haven't given Matt or David an account yet?
Well, I can give them one here today, but within a day or two, I'll be able to give them accounts up at the data center.
Okay. We'll just keep reviewing this, and then we will be ready for the data center. And then can we do another one of these after it's up at the data center?
Oh yeah, yeah. The data center right now is actually slower than this server. The server up there is slower, and JT's looking into it right now because we think it might be the package of bandwidth that we purchased from the data center and not the server itself, because the server that's up there is actually faster than the one that I'm sitting next to here. But when you go there, you click on a page and you can count to 3 or 4 or 5 before the next page appears, and that's just unacceptable.
Right. Okay, well, the Chief or Art need to talk to me, I'm available.
Hey, Michael.
You got it.
Hey, Michael, it's Dave. Back in the day, I had a separate login for CAITS and Xeden, like 2 separate logins. Is that not the case anymore? Are they still, like when you log into Xeden, will you then have the access to your CAITS account, or you just have to log in 2 separate accounts?
Oh, good question. Good question. It's going to be the way that I'm doing CAITS accounts now is that the CAITS account and its associated corner account in the cloud are new. They're not your personal ones. And that's so that, and there's a dashboard that I create them with, and it creates first it creates the corner account, then it creates all the various CAITS accounts, and then it makes somebody be the first initial overall administrator and owner of that business account and that business corner account, because we're charging for those. It's not the other ones that you go and get personally are free, and so that's not the same thing. These are ones we'll be charging for and creating with a dashboard, and so you'll have a separate. The login will be different, and the initial password will be different. It'll be randomly generated, and then you'll be given an email that says, here's your login and your initial password. Go in first to Xeden, set up your profile, name your corner if you want to. You don't have to, but name reset your password to something that you'll remember. And then from that point forward, you can go directly to CAITS and log into your CAITS account using it, or you can go to Xeden and log into the corner account, which is about to become OraCloud. Because OraCloud is about to become the cloud, and that's where you'll go to log into Xeden. But if you do come in through CAITS and you go right directly to your CAITS account, it'll just bring you right to here, and and log in. But from there, you can always get back to the related business corner account. So if you wanted to go to your personal corner account that you had, you have to go. You will eventually have to go to OraCloud, log in to the cloud, and use your personal ID, that whatever the login was, which will not be what it is with CAITS.
Okay. Any word from Timmy Draper?
No.
What about from the Emerald City boys?
No, nothing yet. But I hope to hear from them. If I don't hear from them today, I assume that they're on holiday, but nobody I know is actually taking today off.
Right,
although Julie's company has today off.
Well, Matt wants to hear more about the geomapping too.
Yeah, I'm working on that. The original version of the geomapping was done by Leah, and a lot of her code just doesn't work across all the different servers, and it doesn't work on the server that's here. So I am recreating the geomapping because I think it's one of the better features that we have, and basically when you're defining a process, which is a special instance of a location, or just a location let me go back to CAITS over here for a second.
I think you can also be using this geomapping for OLA, Michael, underneath of their real estate tab.
Yeah, but they would have to have a CAITS business account, and they should have one. But if I'm looking at like a location, you'll see that this is actually a latitude and longitude in California,
right.
And it's a real one, and so you have the ability to create a latitude and longitude, and then this location appears on the map. And what we've got, and what I'm just basically going to have to fix, basically, because it was working, is that you'll see all the locations on a map, and you'll be able to click on them, and instantly you'll be able to see things like inventory, what's in inventory in that location, what's in the process currently at that location, at that process. And we even had it so that if you had several locations within a building, you could define that, because you could drill down into the farm or the building or whatever, and you could subdivide say a farm up into greenhouses and fields and things, anything that you wanted, or you could take a factory and subdivide it into rooms or processes or things like that. So it was pretty cool. And that's where I want to get back to, because I'd like to be able to say, okay, here's a map of the factory, click on a process, and you'll just see what's in it currently.
Yeah, I mean, with theirs, they've got both commercial and residential real estate, so instead of doing it by coordinates, you could just do it by address. And then instead of having to just browse through all the different offers, you could look at the map itself, and you could, based on color or based on some other type of notation, you could just go straight to the map, especially if you're looking in a particular area for a particular type of real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You could say, I want to pull up a San Francisco Bay Area, and I want to see in this price range. And then you see all these places you can click on to get to the information, and probably photographs and everything else too.
Yeah, photographs, drone graphs. I mean, you can also look for, what places that are going up for auction, because that's kind of the point.
Yep. Yeah, well, I'll talk to Tommy about it.
All right.
Because I think that
Thank you
that would be
very
a good
much.
idea.
Thank you very much, and we will call you back.
Thanks, Michael.
Well, I'm going to go shovel snow.